The lights were too bright, the silence too loud. A live Vatican-sponsored broadcast was supposed to celebrate unity, but something shifted the moment Keanu Reeves entered. No dramatic entrance. He simply walked in and sat beside the Vatican representative. The host's voice trembled as he stumbled through greetings. Keanu said nothing, his hands folded, gaze steady, like he was waiting for the room to hear its own guilt. The host turned to him with a forced smile. "Mr. Reeves, would you like to say a few words about reconciliation?" A beat, then another. Keanu looked into the camera. "I wasn't going to say anything until I saw what they did to her." Gasps. Chairs shifted. The Vatican rep leaned forward, but said nothing. Somewhere off-screen, the Pope watched, lips pressed into a line. Keanu's voice dropped. "What happened to Sister Magdalena should have never been buried. But tonight, I'll show you what they buried." The silence after Keanu's final words hummed like smoke in the studio. No applause followed, just breath held tight in chests across the world. But that silence that traveled. Hours later, headlines blurred with fragments of his statement. And then the name. Sister Magdalena. For most, it meant nothing. For one village in the hills of northern Argentina, it was everything. She had arrived young, vibrant, full of fire and faith. An Afro-Argentine nun placed in a quiet monastery where faith was supposed to meet care, an orphanage behind stone walls. But what she found was silence too loud to ignore, bruises on children who didn't speak, locked rooms that never opened, priests who flinched when she walked in. She wrote letters. No reply. She pleaded, then pushed, then disappeared. Officially, transferred. Unofficially, never seen again. Keanu had learned about her during the making of a documentary on displaced communities in Argentina. A local schoolteacher handed him an old photo, a young nun holding a child, eyes warm, sky behind her cloudless. "They made her disappear," she said softly. She wouldn't stop asking questions. That moment never left him. He searched, quiet interviews, broken testimonies, shuttered doors. One evening, in a dim Buenos Aires cafe, a man slid into the seat across from him. No name, only a sealed envelope. The whistleblower spoke, just once before disappearing into the night. "Don't let them lie in Latin." The documents were stamped, dated, signed. Transfers, payouts, silencing clauses. One bore the signature of Jorge Mario Bergoglio, the future pope. Narration intercut with grainy clips from past press conferences. Vatican officials smiling, brushing off questions, offering prayers while closing every door. A Vatican-funded news anchor spoke in one clip. Unsubstantiated rumors driven by anti-faith agendas. The children never named. The nun never mentioned again. Keanu flew back to the village. Magdalena's chapel still stood, choked in vines, windows shattered. He stepped inside. Dust floated in beams of dying light. On the floor, a broken pendant and a forgotten photo. He knelt. No camera, no words, just grief. A nun he met along the way whispered, "You think the Pope didn't know?" He signed the silencing order. A journalist confirmed flatly, "We had the story 10 years ago. The network killed it in a day." And still, Keanu never raised his voice. But the world was listening now. The clip spread fast, faster than denial. People didn't know her name yesterday. Today they searched for it, whispered it. Magdalena. The host's smile had cracked by the time Keanu slid the manila envelope onto the polished table. The Vatican representative shifted in his chair, hands clasped too tightly. Cameras zoomed in, breaths held. Keanu didn't rush. He unfolded each document, laying them side by side, like relics, but heavier. A signature, a date, an order. "This," Keanu began, his voice steady, "is a letter from then Archbishop Bergoglio. He called it a reassignment for her safety." He held the page up, the black ink bleeding into the silence. The host cleared his throat, eyes darting to the producer offstage. The Vatican rep leaned forward, voice sharp. "You have no idea what you're talking about. These are internal matters." Keanu didn't look at him. He just whispered, almost gently, then explained why her body was found with rosary beads marked Vaticanus Civitas. A gasp rippled through the audience. Somewhere off camera, The Pope's eyes narrowed, but his face remained carved in stone. The screen split for a brief second, the live studio on one side, Pope Francis watching from a private room on the other. He didn't move, didn't blink, but the weight of that silence spoke louder than any denial could. Keanu turned back to the camera, his tone never rising. Forgiveness begins with confession, but there's been no confession, only silence. His words weren't an accusation, they were an invitation to truth. But truth, it seemed, had been buried under marble floors for too long. On social media, hashtags erupted. News anchors scrambled, cutting into programming with breaking banners. Keanu Reeves exposes Vatican cover-up. The Vatican press office went dark. Emails unanswered. Phones dead. The church's machine, once seamless in its deflection, began to stutter. No statement prepared. No scapegoat lined up. Just layers of old secrets exposed to daylight. The Vatican rep tried again, his voice shaky now. "This is sensationalism. You're twisting." Keanu looked at him for the first time. Not angry. Not triumphant. Just tired. For decades, they made silence holy. Now truth has made it loud. No one clapped. No one booed. The audience just sat there, stunned. It wasn't outrage filling the room. It was something quieter. Awakening. The kind that doesn't need a headline to feel real. The kind that makes people whisper each other's names when no one's watching. And somewhere, in a village far away, a chapel door creaked open. A week passed. Not with riots or riots of headlines, but with stillness. News tickers ran cold until, quietly, one line scrolled across the bottom of the screen. Pope Francis steps down citing health reasons. No press conference. No blessing. Just absence. And then, for the first time in history, Sister Magdalena trended. Keanu returned to Argentina alone. No cameras. Just a jacket, a worn envelope still unopened in his pocket, and a heart full of unfinished prayers. The village had changed. The chapel steps, once choked in weeds, now glowed with soft candlelight. Children laughed where once they whispered. Her photo hung in the chapel door, framed, honored home. Elsewhere, silence took a different shape. A cardinal boarded a flight in Rome. No one greeted him. A Vatican press secretary sat alone at a cafe, scrolling headline after headline, his espresso untouched, his phone no longer ringing. A letter arrived at Keanu's door days later. No return address, but the seal was unmistakable, gold-pressed wax, the mark of Vatican authority. He looked at it for a long time, then placed it, unopened, in a drawer. He walked the streets of Rome, without fanfare. Crowds gathered around the Vatican, not in worship, but in witness. Protesters held cardboard signs like holy relics. She deserved better. Truth is the real faith. No one shouted. They didn't need to. He passed them silently, offering a nod to an elderly woman lighting a small candle at the base of a statue. Her eyes met his, full of grief, full of peace.